Good morning, folks. Hope you're all doing well. Yesterday was the Windermere Record Fair, and I normally like to get to show what I've bought fairly quickly, as I said in my response to Richard MacColl's questions thread. Yesterday wasn't a brilliant fair. Though I did come away with about a dozen albums, which isn't bad. They were all bar two were from the cheapo bins. The stock outside of the cheapo bins hadn't seemed to have changed that much since the last fair, but anyway, managed to get some decent stuff. Nothing mind-blowing, nothing rare, obviously, if they were in the cheapo bins. No prog, though, unfortunately. Anyway, let's get on with what I bought. First off, this is the two from the that weren't in the cheapo bins. This is Outskirts of Infinity, with what I think is their second album, Scenes from the Dreams of Angels. This is, I think, released about 89, 90, something like that. Maybe a little bit later. Outskirts of Infinity, I think were a trio. The main guy is Barry Watts, but Nick Solomon, who was also better known as Mr. Bevis Frond, was also in the band, I think, initially. I don't know on this record because I think I'm missing the inner sleeve with any details. They're a sort of heavy psych, sort of Hendrix style guitar playing. I've got a couple of CDs somewhere by them, and I really rate those. So I was quite pleased to find this. This was ticketed at 15, but because I got the next album for free, I could say that it basically cost me £7.50, which I was quite pleased with. The other one that wasn't from the cheapo bins is John Mayall's Memories. This is an album from 1971. I've always liked the early Mayall albums. This is all self-penned numbers, and looking at the lyrics, it looks quite autobiographical in nature. Most of the songs, as you can tell, mainly from the title, Memories, and the fact that he's got pictures of himself through the ages on here. There's only 3 people on the album, apart from Mayall on a harmonica, rhythm guitar, 12-string guitar and piano. You have Jerry McGee on lead guitar, dobro steel guitar and sitar, and Larry Taylor on bass, so no drums. Be interesting to hear this one. Now on to the cheapies, and this is an album I remember, I think, from the late 70s. This is Flash Fearless versus the Zorg Women, parts 5 and 6. This was an album, I think, that was done based on a stage production. Yeah, based on a stage musical. It never got very good reviews, I remember. But when you look at the people that are on here, basically you have Carmen Apice, Bill Bruford, Alice Cooper, Jim Dandy, John Entwistle, Justin Hayward, Nicky Hopkins, Eddie Jobson, Kenny Jones, Keith Moon, Maddie Pryor. God, there's tons of them. I'm going to be interested. I don't expect this to be brilliant. Like I say, it never got good reviews, but it was cheap, so I thought I'd give it a go. I think a lot of the ones I've bought, I'm taking a bit of a risk on, in that they might not be that good, but like I said, for the price. And when you go so far for a record fair, You don't want to come back with nout. Next one is a band I know of, but I'm not sure I've ever heard anything by them unless I have something on a comp somewhere. And that's the folk band Therapy. And I think this was third album, something like that. One Night Stand. What year was this from? See if we can find out. 1973 on Indigo Sound. They started out as a trio, I think, of Dave Shannon, Fiona Simpson, and a guy called Sam Bracken. Now, Sam left after the first album in 1971, turned up 8 years later in the superb band Five Hand Reel, and played on their final album, their fourth album. This, obviously, as you can expect, this is folk music. Side one is basically singer-songwriter stuff. You get a couple of Joni Mitchell tracks, Carey and Big Yellow Taxi. You get Melanie's Brand New Key and the Beatles' Honey Pie. But side two is all traditional, with like Bells of Rimney, Blackwater Side, Little Beggarman, Our Captain Cried All Hands. So I think this, for the period, I like folk from albums from this period. I'm hoping this will be a decent list. Next one is a band I really like, and that's the German kraut fusion band Passport, Klaus Doldinger's band. I really like their early albums, but like a lot of fusion bands from the 70s, in the late 70s and 80s, they tended to bland out a bit, and I think this might be just on the cusp of that, going from the really good stuff to the not so good. But again, cheap, thought I'd give it a try, hoping there'll be enough on there for it to be a keeper. Next up, we have one of the most important or famous guys from the British folk revival in the late 50s, early 60s, and that's Ewan MacColl, with accompanied by Peggy Seeger. Peggy was Pete Seeger's sister, I think. Ewan does the vocals, Peggy's on guitar and vocals. This was an album originally released in 1959 called Chorus from the Gallows. I think this is like an early 60s repress, like 63, 64, something like that. Ewan MacColl was very political in nature. All of these songs deal with basically about crime and its aftermath, crimes of passion, songs of confession and remorse, transportation ballads, songs describing prison life, etc. The only ones I know are Johnny O'Breedsley and Van Diemen's Land. But he also wrote his own stuff as well as performing traditional material. But again, all highly political in nature. But I've heard one or two things in the past by the couple and I've quite liked. So this is my first attempt at a full album. But I also picked up another one by them, and this I think is a live album, Saturday Night at the Bull and Mouth. Bull and Mouth was a pub in London where they had a folk club where Ewan MacColl and Peggy Seeger obviously did a residency. I can't say it. This was from 1977. Features tracks like The Blackleg Miner, I'm a Rover, Rattling Roaring Willie, and a number of American folk tunes like John Hardy, Freight Train. Again, hopefully, I like folk music, so this should be good. Sticking with the folk, and a lot of these are folk related. Another big favourite of mine is Alan Stivell, and this is his 1980 double album, Tir na nog Symphonie Celtique. I think this is a concept album in nature. Beautiful picture of Stonehenge there. Like I say, I'm a massive fan of Alan Stivell's work, particularly the two live albums, the Paris and the Dublin albums. They're superb. This doesn't, I think, feature Dana Brown, fortunately, on guitar. But I think this should be pretty good, even though it's 1980. Next up, that's what I was really pleased to find, and that's the Rutles. The Rutles, I'm sure you'll know, were a takeoff of the Beatles. It was the brainchild of Neil Innes from Bonzo's fame. Comes with quite a nice little booklet inside, describing the career of the Rutles. With albums like A Hard Day's Rut and Ouch. You know, Meet the Rutles, Tragical History Tour, Sergeant Rutter's Darts Club Band, and Let It Rot. The material is superb on here. It's the pastiches are just so well done. I haven't seen the film for so many years. I'd love to get a copy of it again. It was brilliant. So I was really pleased to find this. That's the Rutles, as I described the prefab for. Next up, an album by American singer-songwriter Tom Rush, and this is Merrimack County. From 1972. There you go. 2 or 3 fairs ago, I picked up my first Tom Rush album, and I really enjoyed that. So I'm hoping this will be just as good. They're all self-penned except for 3, couple of Bob Carpenter numbers, and a version of Jackson Brown's Jamaica Say You Will. And next up, a guy I haven't got anything on vinyl by, and that's Tom Paxton. This is, I think, again, 2nd or 3rd album, Ain't That News. Another artist from the early 60s, came out of that whole protest singer era in American folk music. Good songwriter. This features Felix Pappalardi on bass, backing him up on this album. I did get I think his first album about 2 years ago from a record fair in Kendal for a quid, but fortunately it was knackered, so I didn't keep it. So I'm hoping this will be in a better nick. And I got another one by him. This is the album Morning Again from, what year was this one? I think this was from 68, I think, something like that. That's that. And finally, I got an album by Country Joe MacDonald, Paris Sessions. This is from when is it from? 1973. Country Joe obviously is the Country Joe of Country Joe and the Fish, along with Barry Melton and the Fish. I've got two or three other albums by him, and I really like his stuff. This isn't meant to be his best, but on here you've got, backing him up, you've got Pete Albin on bass and David Getz on drums, who obviously played with Big Brother and the Holding Company. And then we're in I think a later version of Country Joe and the Fish. And you've also got on piano and vocals Dorothy Moskovitz, who many of you will probably know from the band United States of America and their superb first album. So, like I say, not meant to be his best, but cheap, and I've liked his other stuff, so hoping that's going to be a good one. Anyway, that's it, folks. It's a lovely day. Well, it was a lovely day here in Cumbria. It's dulled over a bit now. Hope everybody's been having a good time over the Jubilee weekend here in the UK. Hope to see you all soon. Take care. Bye.